Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Finding Your Way with Lori and Tonya. We are super excited you are here today, and we're going to talk about, as we do, we talk about some tips and tricks and things that we've tried and things that we know work and things that we go back to. And today we're going to talk about creating and cleaning up your space. It sounds kind of silly in how this is really connected and affecting every single thing you do in your life, your space, your environment, the things that you have in it, the way it looks and the way it feels are all huge in your daily interactions. And so cleaning up and creating space is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and we went through that whole goal series where we really looked at different areas of our life, whether that's relationships or finances, or what are some other, our finances, our relationships, our fun, what are some other ones, health, all those things. Really, you can take this little tip of clearing out space, cleaning up clutter and things like that to impact each of those areas of your life. You can be very, very intentional and purposeful about, that being one of your actions that you take to improve an area of your life. And so that's sort of exciting because it's tried and true, right? We've done these things and have noticed it each time. And it's like, how does that work? Like, how does it work that you put focus on your space and do the things you can? But again, it's that taking action. And these are the kind of action steps we can take that then creates more space for good things to come in and come to us.
When it really is that intentional action. Okay. So it's, for me, I don't like clutter. However, I get stuck in that same rut where this goes here, this goes there, especially my garage. With three boys at one point all at the house at the same time, and keeping things to pass down and keeping things because they were sentimental, and having things because they wouldn't let go of because they may use it again or play with it again or ride it again. And so the garage just, and I would notice going out there, it would almost like stifle me. And I felt like I was holding on to so much of the past and so much that wasn't serving me. And I had never thought about it that way. I just thought, okay, it's a cluttery garage and I'm kind of a neat freak. So, that's why this is such a big deal for me. But once we went to that retreat and really understood how the magnitude of the effect that your environment has on you. And so I'll say that when we got back, one of the things I did was make all the family get together and we cleaned the garage, like took everything out. My neighbors thought that we had lost our minds, and I'm sure they were wondering how all that fit on our lawn in the garage. And then we put it all back in. Well, we put about half back in. And I immediately, there were immediate things that happened. Several immediate things that that came to me, that flowed to me because I had made room and space for it. Mm-hmm. And then I can say right after my divorce, probably about a year, I was feeling that heavy feeling again and realized it was because I had quite a bit of stuff in my garage that didn't belong to me. And it really didn't belong to anybody anymore because it wasn't wanted or needed or there was a place for it. And I was carrying it around and it was heavy. Energetically heavy. And so I did the same thing. I literally pulled everything out and I made some hard decisions. I got rid of some things that were pretty big deal. And I just did it. And I will tell you that put everything back in that felt good and was supposed to be there. And just the weight was gone. And it really does work that way. It's amazing to me what you invite in and what you have room for once you let go of things in your energetic space.
Yeah. And I think, so my parents were raised by parents that went through the Great Depression. And so there's that tendency to hold on to stuff, even if you don't need it, because you might need it. Or, it's the way they were raised made them that way, a little bit. And so, I've heard several times, and in my family, they love the junk store. They love going to a junk store and buy secondhand things, that kind of thing. And when you're looking into the science of energetics and that kind of thing. It's really interesting because you got to be careful bringing things into your home that have a history that you don't know about, because it's that energy that clings to it. And you may not even know. Wasn't it one of our friends that had something in her house, and it was like she just got this feeling. It was like a picture or something.
An antique chest
yes,
of drawers,
and it was
something
antique, you know, very valuable, antique type thing. But she felt yucky every time she walked past it. And there's something to that. Like, that's something, you don't know the story behind that. You don't know the energy that's stuck to those items. And so I know that's a little bit woo-woo, but it is, I think, some of the reason why we feel lighter when we get rid of things, whether it's just clutter that we've accumulated too many things, or maybe there's stuck energy on things that we have in our possession that we don't realize that it's sort of bringing our energy down when we have those things. I know that right now where we are, the weather's changing, right? And so it's changing from balmy summer into whatever. I mean, we don't really have a winter, but it goes from, 90 degrees to 70s and 60s. And so I've just spent the time this weekend going through clothes and switching over, wardrobes from the different seasons and stuff. And I always feel better. Like it takes a while for me to make myself do it and take the action and get everything organized. But once I do it, and usually when I do that, I'll be real good about taking things out that I'm not realistically going to wear. I don't need that. Somebody else could use that, and getting rid of things that I no longer need. And I swear you feel lighter immediately. And it just creates a better living environment. If nothing else, your living environment feels better when you do that.
Well, and I think so, Lori and I also talk about creating space for the things you do want. So if you've got things in your environment that are blocking the things you do want, and I'll give you an example. Is I've got a friend, and he is not doing this work. He told me the story. We went to lunch, and I thought, oh my God, like, he told me the story. And it is exactly the law of attraction 101. And he did not necessarily have any idea that's what he was doing. But he's in his 60s, early mid 60s, and had been single for about 25 or 30 years and was really ready for a partner. And so, he goes out, he's a business professional, he's a sales rep, he meets lots of people, and it's just never happened for him. And so he recently got married, and I've met his wife, and she's just adorable, and they are the perfect couple. I mean, it's amazing to me that it took them till their mid 60s to find each other. And so he and I were at lunch, and I was talking, I just said, listen, I want what you have. Like, I don't want to wait till I'm 60 or 65 to find it. Like, and I said, he said, Tonya, I've been wanting this for a long time. He said, but what I did is they had met in his apartment complex. She had just moved in. They were both sitting at the pool, reading a book. He introduced himself and then had her over for a drink. And, a couple of weeks later, they had messaged back and forth. So he had her over for a drink. And he said, after she came into his space and sat down, when she left, he thought, okay, I'm going to marry her. And he said he immediately got up and he bought towels, like nice linen towels for all the bathrooms, like pretty decorative towels. He bought new dish towels for his kitchen. He cleaned out half of his master closet and left it completely empty for her. He moved, he instead of sleeping in the middle of the bed, he literally started sleeping on his side of the bed. He went ahead in the bathroom and bought soap that smelled good. He bought another toothbrush and went ahead and set it where her toothbrush would be. Like, he literally removed all the blocks and created this space for her. And so the next time she came over, or maybe it was 2 times, she loves shoes. So one of the things he did was he took the guest closet and he made it a complete shoe rack. Now, this man had only, one date. And so he didn't tell her the next time she came back, but I think on like date 3, he said, come here, I'm going to show you something. And he had shown her all the things he did. I was like, oh my God, like, did she run for the hills? And he said, She did look at me like I was a little crazy. He said, but I had no doubt. Like he said, I had made room for her and there was no excuses. And literally, I think in 6 months they moved in together, and in a year they were married. And he had wanted this for so long, but this was the first time he took action to create the space for it. And he and I talked about that. Like he was always busy with work. He was always satisfied. You know, as a day trader, he did that at night and stuff. Like he always was so busy and so much energy, but he was not creating the space to have somebody come to him. And so it's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, he did it. And it's exactly what happened. And so it was about creating the space, right, for what you do want.
These are my favorite kind of stories ever. We've got to do something on our podcast where we hear from people that have those kind of crazy stories, because they are my absolute favorite.
I do.
Well, speaking of, all that is feng shui, right? If you've studied feng shui at all, and I've probably know enough to be dangerous, but what I have heard is that you have to be real careful about what goes under your bed, especially the bed you sleep in. You know, you don't want clutter there. You don't want a lot of things under your bed, because it can affect your dreams. It can affect your love life. It can affect your sleep. And this past weekend, I went to put something under our guest room bed because nobody sleeps there. And it was completely packed. And so my husband comes home and I said, what is under the beds? And he's like, oh, well, those are my guns. He hunts. And so he's got a bunch of guns. So he's got guns under both bedroom beds. And I said, what's under our bed? Because I had not gotten down on the floor and looked. He was like, oh, I moved everything from under there. And I was like, you better be glad you did, because feng shui 101, you don't put, especially like guns and ammo, we don't need that up under our bed. And then our dreams being funky and, you know, our love life being messed up because of it. I said, don't do that. He thinks I'm crazy anyway, but I was like, don't be messing with the space that we sleep in. But it is true. You know, you hear about really good sleep, like to get into a really good sleep pattern. There's things you can do to your environment, whether that's clearing up the clutter, making it cool, making it dark. That's sort of what we're talking about today, is creating space for you to thrive, whether that means for you to get better sleep or to bring a new relationship into your life. I know for me, one trick I've used is with money. Like when I go to do write my bills and everything every month, just going through my pocketbook real carefully to make sure I don't have a bunch of receipts that stuck out and things not in their proper place, because what that does is sends the message out. Like if I had 10 receipts stuck in my wallet versus money, there's not space for money to come in there. And I know it sounds crazy, but for whatever reason, it works, you know, to create those little spaces, anything from a wallet to your car, to your house, to your workspace, all these spaces, the space in your mind. Like that's why I think meditation and all that works so well, is because we're clearing space of all the chatter that goes on in our minds every day. And when we clear the space, we can get what needs to come to us, right? Whether that's a message or just an insight into something. It's the same thing, whether that's your mind space or your physical space, it's all the same.
And if you just want to test it, if you just want to see, are those girls crazy? Does this really work? Find a drawer in your house, any kind of drawer. I've got quite a few of them. That is your junk drawer or your catch-all drawer, and clean it out. Whether it takes you 5 minutes or an hour, go through, clean it out, organize it, and then close it. And then wait 5 days. Probably won't take 5, but give it 5 days and be really conscious about what flows to you in those 5 days. It's going to be some sort of abundance. It could be money abundance. It could be discounts. It could be, I mean, it really could be, it could be a new friend. Like just make that one junk drawer. You will be amazed. Do it. Do the junk drawer and then think about every next 5 days. Be really cognizant of what flows to you because you did that. You are going to be amazed at what comes your way because you literally cleaned a junk drawer.
Yeah. So just trust us. You got to clean up your space. That's absolutely clean up your space. And we've talked about it. That could be any kind of space, but it's also then creating the space for what you do desire to come towards you. And if everything's so packed, like if your closet is so packed that you can't get a finger between the two hangers, that's not really allowing space. Like your friend's bathroom or his bed, like sleeping in his bed and sprawling out like a starfish. You're not really allowing space for somebody that could come sleep beside you.
Right.
I know it sounds so woo-woo and funky, but it really is fun to think about and to sort of track what does come to you when you create that space.
Yeah. All right. So jump to our challenge and let us know what comes your way. We'd love to hear from you.